Summary of The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker. Introduction. Peter Drucker's The Effective Executive is a landmark work on management and self-discipline for executives, managers, and leaders. First published in 1967, the book outlines the essential practices and mindsets required to be effective in roles of responsibility. Unlike focusing on traits or charisma, Drucker emphasizes behavior, habits, and deliberate practice. He identifies 5 key practices that effective executives consistently follow, aiming to turn knowledge into tangible results. Key concepts and practices. 1. Time management. One of the first principles Drucker introduces is the necessity of time management. He argues that time is the executive's most precious and finite resource, yet it is often squandered on trivial activities. Effective executives begin by recording how they actually spend their time, identifying unproductive tasks, and systematically eliminating them. Once this analysis is complete, they work to consolidate their available discretionary time into large, uninterrupted blocks to focus on high-impact tasks. Drucker's approach to time management is rooted in the belief that what gets measured gets managed. He emphasizes that time, unlike money, cannot be stored or replenished, making its proper allocation critical for effectiveness. By systematically cutting back on commitments that do not yield results, executives free up more time for essential work. 2. Focus on contribution. The second major practice of effective executives is focusing on contribution rather than effort. Drucker stresses that it's not enough to do one's best, or work hard. Instead, the focus should be on delivering measurable contributions to the organization's goals. This shift in mindset from activities to outcomes helps executives prioritize the tasks that make the most significant difference. Executives must ask themselves, what can I contribute that will significantly affect the performance and the results of the institution I serve? This contribution-oriented thinking forces individuals to think beyond their personal success or convenience, focusing on larger organizational needs. Whether it's improving the company's bottom line, increasing customer satisfaction, or driving innovation, executives who prioritize contributions over mere effort become more effective. 3. Making strengths productive. Drucker's third principle is to build on strengths, both one's own and those of others. Instead of focusing on weaknesses, effective executives identify the unique talents, skills, and abilities within their teams and leverage them to achieve better outcomes. He argues that people's strengths, not their weaknesses, determine their potential for excellence. This philosophy extends to hiring and team development. Executives should avoid trying to fix employees' weaknesses. Instead, they should place employees in roles that play to their strengths and encourage them to develop those skills further. This practice increases productivity, morale, and overall effectiveness within teams. Drucker also advises leaders to focus on their own strengths. Instead of striving to become well-rounded, which he sees as a flawed concept, executives should identify their unique abilities and seek roles or responsibilities that capitalize on them. By aligning personal and team strengths with the organization's goals, effectiveness increases. 4. Concentration on the few major areas. The fourth principle revolves around prioritization. Effective executives focus their energy on a small number of critical tasks that will yield the most significant results. This concentration on the few major areas approach follows the Pareto principle, 80-20th rule, which holds that 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. Drucker advises against overstaffing tasks, which leads to dilution of effort. Instead, executives should identify the most important areas for focus and avoid becoming distracted by minor, urgent issues. By doing fewer things but doing them exceptionally well, executives create a larger impact. Drucker emphasizes that doing the right things is far more important than doing things right. This shift requires the discipline to say no to lesser priorities and to protect time for what truly matters. 5. Effective decision-making. The final key practice is the ability to make effective decisions. Drucker argues that decision-making is a process, not a one-time act. It involves gathering the right information, clearly defining the problem, considering alternatives, and weighing the risks and benefits of each option. Unlike intuitive decision-making, which relies on gut feelings, effective decision-making follows a structured process. Drucker proposes that executives identify the boundary conditions for decisions, the constraints and criteria that must be met for the decision to be effective. Once these conditions are clear, executives are better equipped to analyze alternatives and select the most viable option. Importantly, Drucker notes that not all decisions are equally important, and executives should focus their decision-making efforts on the most significant issues. Challenges to executive effectiveness. Drucker outlines several obstacles that executives must overcome to practice these 5 principles successfully. Some of the most common challenges include fragmentation of time, in scheduled meetings, constant interruptions, and crisis management prevent executives from focusing on critical tasks. Misguided priorities. Many executives prioritize urgent but low-impact tasks over important, high-impact ones. Over-reliance on formal authority. Effective executives influence through contribution and respect, not through formal authority or positional power. Lack of self-discipline. Without personal discipline, even the most capable leaders may fall into the trap of busyness rather than effectiveness. To overcome these challenges, executives must develop self-awareness, self-control, and the discipline to adhere to the 5 principles consistently. Role of knowledge workers. Drucker's concept of the knowledge worker is another crucial element in the effective executive. He predicts the rise of an economy driven by knowledge-based roles, where employees' output depends on their mental capacities rather than physical labor. In this context, effectiveness becomes even more vital, as knowledge work is harder to measure, standardize, and automate. Knowledge workers must be self-disciplined and capable of managing their own productivity. For executives overseeing knowledge workers, Drucker advises creating an environment where employees can contribute meaningfully. This involves clear goal setting, continuous feedback, and alignment of individual strengths with organizational goals. Executives must learn to manage upwards, which means encouraging employees to take ownership of their roles and contributions. Conclusion. Peter Drucker's The Effective Executive remains one of the most influential management books of all time. By focusing on behavior and self-discipline rather than traits or charisma, Drucker provides a clear path to executive effectiveness. His 5 principles, time management, contribution focus, making strengths productive, concentration on key priorities, and effective decision-making, are as relevant today as they were in 1967. In an era defined by information overload, the principles outlined in this book offer a timeless roadmap for leaders and managers striving to achieve meaningful results in their organizations. If you enjoyed this summary, please drop a like. Be sure to subscribe for more leadership-based content in less than 10 minutes. Drucker, Peter F. The Effective Executive. The Definitive Guide to Getting the Right Things Done. Harper Business, 2006.